HQN Books and HarlequinAudio present First Kiss at Christmas, featuring the bonus story Secrets of Summer by Tobin McClain, performed by Tanya Eby. Chapter 1. Kayla Harris carried a bag of snowflake decorations to the window of her preschool classroom. She started putting them up in a random pattern, humming along to the Christmas music she'd accessed on her phone. Yes, it was Sunday afternoon. And yes, she was a loser for spending it at work. But she loved her job and wanted the classroom to be ready when the kids returned from Thanksgiving break tomorrow. Nobody could get as excited as a 4-year-old about Christmas decorations. Outside, the November wind tossed the pine branches and jangled the swings on the Coastal Kids Early Learning Center's playground. A lonely seagull swooped across the sky, no doubt headed for the bay. The Chesapeake was home to all kinds of wildlife, year-round. That was one of the things she loved about living here. Then another kind of movement from the playground caught her eye. A man in a long, army-type coat, bareheaded, ran after a little boy. When Kayla pushed open the window to see better, she heard the child screaming. Heart pounding, she rushed downstairs and out the door of the empty school. The little boy now huddled at the top of the sliding board, mouth wide open as he cried, tears rolling down round, rosy cheeks. The man stood between the slide and a climbing structure, forking his fingers through disheveled hair, not speaking to the child or making any effort to comfort him. This couldn't be the little boy's father. Something was wrong. She ran toward the sliding board. "Hi, honey," she said to the child, keeping her voice low and calm. "What's the matter?"
"Leave him alone," the man barked out.
His ragged jeans and wildly flapping coat made him look disreputable, maybe homeless. She ignored him, climbed halfway up the ladder, and touched the child's shaking shoulder. "Hi, sweetheart." The little boy jerked away and, maybe on purpose, maybe not, slid down the slide. The man rushed to catch him at the bottom, and the boy struggled, crying, his little fists pounding, legs kicking. Kayla pulled out her phone to report a possible child abduction, eyes on the pair, poised to interfere if the man tried to run with the child. One of the boy's kicks landed in a particularly vulnerable spot, and the man winced and adjusted the child to cradle him as if he were a baby.
Okay,
he murmured in a deep but gentle voice, nothing like the sharp tone in which he'd addressed Kayla. He sat down on the end of the slide and pulled the child close, rocking a little.
"You're okay."
The little boy struggled for another few seconds, and then stopped, laying his head against the man's broad chest. Apparently, this guy had gained the child's trust, at least to some degree. For the first time, Kayla wondered if she'd misread the situation. Was this just a scruffy dad? Was she maybe just being her usual awkward self with men? He looked up at her then, curiosity in his eyes. Her face heated, but she straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin. She was an education professional trying to help a child. "This is a private school, sir," she said. "What are you doing here?" The little boy had startled at her voice, and his crying intensified. The man ignored her question. "Is he your son?" Again, no answer, as he stroked the child's hair and whispered something into his ear. "All right, I guess it's time for the police to straighten this out." She searched for the number, her fingers numb with the cold. Maybe this situation didn't merit a 911 call, but there was definitely something unusual going on. Her small town's police force could straighten it out.
"Wait, don't call the police."
Tony DeNunzio struggled to his feet, the weight of his tense nephew making him awkward.
"Everything's okay. I'm his guardian."
He didn't owe this woman an explanation, and it irritated him to have to give one, but he didn't want Jax to get even more upset. The child hated cops, and with good reason. "You're his guardian?" The blonde, petite as she was, made him feel small as her eyes skimmed him up and down. He glanced down at his clothes and winced, lifted a hand to his bristly chin and winced again. He hadn't shaved since they'd arrived in town 2 days ago, and he'd grabbed these clothes from the heap of clean but wrinkled laundry beside his bed. Not only because he was busy trying to get Jack settled, but because he couldn't bring himself to care about folding laundry and shaving and most of the other tasks under the general heading of personal hygiene. A shower a day and a bath for Jax was about all
Sample complete. Ready to continue?